Got to have my Viva, water but so much better. Got to have my Viva, water but so much better.
Viva sparkling flavored water, water but better.
In order to maneuver through the COVID-19 pandemic, Trinidad and Tobago as a nation needs to work together in solidarity to support one another. The frontline workers and essential service workers are putting their lives at risk every day in order to ensure that those that are affected have the care that they need, that the virus is contained, and that we are able to access necessities during the quarantine period. As a business built on core family values for the past 95 years, we are honored to provide aid to our brave frontline medical staff who are going above and beyond in these uncertain times. We urge you to do your part as well in whatever way that you can in order to flatten the curve and support one another.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome to C Results. I'm Miss Nyla and thank you for joining me today. So today we have English language arts, of course, and creative writing, right? So before we begin, I must say welcome to all of our viewers and those of you joining us on our live stream on Facebook via the C Results page or the IBN TV 8 page. So guys, as you know, we have been doing SCA practice type papers in preparation for the SCA exam on the 20th of August, right? God's willing, of course. So we are getting you ready, prepared, and those of you, probably laid back a little bit, you were relaxing, you weren't sure when the exam was. Now that you know the final date, right, or the set date, you should get back into exam mode. Now remember, we have lots of content already uploaded on our YouTube channel, and all the videos are there for you to use as a learning reference or a learning resource, so please utilize that. And of course, the videos are also available on our Facebook page via the C Results link, of course, right? So don't forget, those are available to you, as well as our Edmodo class, which I will share a little bit of information on a little later. And there we have to the bottom of your screen the class code for our Edmodo educational platform. So we're going to be continuing with yesterday's SCA practice type paper. Yesterday we were able to complete section 1. Right, so we completed spelling last Thursday, but yesterday we completed punctuation, capitalization, grammar, and then turned over to section 2, where we completed a non-fiction passage in comprehension. And just as we were about to run out of time, we started with the graphic, right? So we're going to be continuing with that graphic, and then we're going to move back to the poem. And then, of course, we're going to move on to another paper. Right, so I'm just going to go back to the graphic. We're going to reread that, and then we're going to take some questions and answers, of course. Right, so that's a reminder here, and those of you who missed it, of course. Yesterday, it is available on our Facebook page and soon on our YouTube channel. So, table of contents. Unit 1, a healthy foundation. Chapter 1, an introduction to healthy living, page 2. Chapter 2, building healthy habits, which is on page 9. Unit 2, your diet and physical activity. Chapter 3, physical activity for your life and body, which is on page 10. Chapter 4, labeled and eating right, which can be found on page 21. Chapter 5, managing your weight. page 38. And then Unit 3, your mental and emotional health. Chapter 6, building better mental health, page 39. Chapter 7, managing a stressful life, which is on page 45. Chapter 8, mental and emotional issues, page 59. Your glossary, which can be found on page 60, and your index on page 62. Just as a reminder, as each and every time we go through your graphic or even your poem or comprehension, I must mention, you look carefully at all the details given for your graphic, right? I always give this reminder. So when you read your graphic, pay attention to its text, the font, how it is laid out, spacing, if any illustration is on your graphic, and all of those things, right? Pay close attention to all details given. Questions will be asked. Don't take it for granted that they simply put the word index here, right? So if you see that word there and you're not sure what it means, try to figure it out, at least when you get to that question. So we were able to complete up until question 40 yesterday. So we're going to move on to question 41, right? So the lines are open. The numbers will be there right at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to call us and help us complete these questions. Remember, for your graphic, it's a simple 10 marks. It's an easy way to get 10 marks. You simply have to read your graphic thoroughly, whatever it is, a flyer, advertisement in this case, a page showing the table of contents. Read it carefully, read it twice, 3 times if you need to, right? Pay attention to all details and information given. And of course, read your questions properly, right? If you don't read your questions, sometimes you can misinterpret what the question is asking. You might give a piece of information that was not asked for, right, rather than what the question is asking for specifically. And of course, not because it's your graphic and not comprehension or poetry, right, means that you don't have to answer in complete sentences. Try your absolute best to answer in complete or full sentences, right? After all, this is an ELA paper. And we do have a call on the line to help us with number 41. Good evening. Hi, good evening, caller. Just a reminder, guys, please lower the volume on your television set or even mute it. That will be a bit better. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Jaden Richard.
Nice to have you with us. So would you like to read this question for us, and then I'll go to the graphic for you, where you can share your answer?
In your own words, explain what the glossary of the book is.
Right, so what do you think the glossary is?
I think a glossary is a list of technical or special words with definitions.
Are you reading that from a dictionary or a Google search?
A dictionary.
All right, great job, right? You have that resource in front of you, and I'm happy that you used it. So now that you learned the meaning of it, please store it somewhere in the back of your mind, right? Thanks so much for calling.
Sure.
Right, so the glossary of the book is an alphabetical list of terms that is found in the book and includes the page numbers on which they can be found. And of course, you would have come across this in in comprehension skills, right? When you're learning about parts of a book. Next question. Keep a stress diary that will help you be aware of situations that are making you stressed. In which chapter can one most likely find the above sentence? Right, the page number on which the chapter begins, right? So this question is a bit long, couple parts to it. Read it carefully. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller. Okay, and I'm going to hold on for a call because I really want somebody to assist me here, right? Take this question, break it up in parts, and we have a call on the line. Good evening. Hi, welcome.
Hi.
Hi, who am I speaking with?
Samia.
Hi, Samia. So would you like to reread this question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Keep a stress diary that will help you be aware of situations that are making you stressed. In which chapter can one most likely find the above sentence, right? The page number on which the chapter begins.
Right, so I'm going to go to the graphic. If you need me to go back to the question, you can also let me know, right?
Yes. Maybe we go back to the question, please.
Sure.
Okay, let's go back to the topic now.
Yes.
Next, the case is the chapter is managing a stressful life.
And can be found.
The page that is found on is page 45.
Excellent job. Thank you so much for calling. Right, so the sentence can most likely be found in chapter 7, Managing a Stressful Life, as this sentence pertains to stress and how to manage that, and the page begins on, or the chapter begins on page 45. And the last question for the graphic. Good evening, welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller. Are you there? Okay, so let's read the question in the meantime. Suggest a suitable title for this book, right? I want your ideas. I would like to hear, what are your opinions about it? How would you label this book? What title would you give to this book? Right, so let's just hold on a couple seconds for someone to join us. In the meantime, I must remind you guys that quizzes are posted or have been posted on our Edmodo class for last week or this upcoming week already, based on the content we covered last week. So ensure that you complete all your quizzes. Sometimes Sejaz or myself sends out a reminder for you guys to complete your creative writing, right? Not so much the mathematics or the ELA, but for creative writing. So just remember you also have that to do. Good evening, welcome to See Results.
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Oh, Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Who am I speaking with?
This is Riaz bin Mohammed.
Nice to have you with us, Riaz. So suggest a suitable title for this book.
To me, a suitable title for this book would be a healthy way to manage your life.
Okay, that's fine. We'll take that. Thank you so much. And
okay, you're welcome.
Of course, guys, this answer can vary, okay, once it pertains to the content in the book, of course. So a suitable title for this book is Maintaining a Healthy Lifestyle, or just as Riaz said, or anything close to that will be fine. So now we're going to move on, or move back rather, to the poem, which we weren't able to complete yesterday. So we're not going to take any calls at the moment. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes. Let's read the poem, analyze it, and then we'll start with the calls again. Right, so let's read. The Fisherman by Abby Farwell Brown. The fisherman goes out at dawn, when everyone's abed, and from the bottom of the sea draws up his daily bread. His life is strange, half on the shore and half upon the sea. Not quite a fish, and yet not quite the same as you and me. The fisherman has curious eyes. They make you feel so queer, as if they had seen many things of wonder and of fear. They are like the sea on foggy days, not gray nor yet quite blue. They are like the wondrous tales he tells, not quite, yet maybe, true. He knows so much of boats and tides, of winds and clouds and sky. But when I tell of city things, he sniffs and shuts one eye. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a couple of calls and I'm going to allow the students to help me analyze the poem. Right, you have to tell me what you understand by each stanza. Right, so let's take a call. Good evening, welcome to See Results. Hi, good afternoon. Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Andian.
Hi, Andian. So help us analyze stanza 1. Right? You can read it line by line and explain it as you go along, or you can read a stanza and tell us what you think it means. Anyhow it works for you.
Okay. The fisherman goes out at dawn. When they say the fisherman goes out at dawn, I mean that the fisherman goes out early in the morning.
Right, go ahead.
When everyone's abed, because everyone will be asleep.
Good.
And from the bottom of the sea draws up his daily bread. So he draws up fish, and if he sells the fish to make a living for his family.
Great job, Andian. Go on to the second stanza.
His life is strange, half on the shore and half upon the sea. Not quite. Hello?
Yes, I'm here. Go ahead.
not quite a fish, and yet not quite. The same as you and me. So, his life is strange, half on shore and half on shore. So that means that he goes to shore to catch fish, and half upon the sea.
So he
not
goes
quite
to,
a fish and not quite. So that means that's how he's not, just because he fish. That's not just because hold on a minute.
Take your time, that's fine.
He's not a fish, and he's not quite you and me because he goes up early in the morning and fish, so that would mean he's not quite a fish and he's not quite you and me.
Okay, all right. Great job, Andy, and thank you so much for calling.
You're most welcome.
Right, just want to point out here, guys, half on the shore and half upon the sea. Right, so they're talking about land, and then, of course, when he goes out to sea. Not quite a fish and not quite the same as you and me. Meaning, of course, he's not a fish, not because he's a fisherman, meaning that he's a fish, and he goes to sea that often, and not yet quite the same as you and me, because he spends most of his time upon the sea, or in the sea rather than on land. So his lifestyle will be a bit different from your lifestyle, especially if you're not a fisherman who goes out to sea. All right, let's take another call to help us with the last couple of stanzas. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller. Are you there? Okay, so we're going to take another call. Good evening. All right, so let's go on to the third stanza in the meantime. The fisherman has curious eyes. They make you feel so queer, as if they had seen many things of wonder and of fear. Right, so let's take it line by line. He has curious eyes. Okay, great, guys. We have a call, so let's take this call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Zafira.
Hi, Zafira. So help us understand stanza 3.
Can you zoom in?
Sure. Just give it a second.
I'm reading it.
Okay, please read it out loud and explain to us, okay?
The fisherman has curious eyes. They make you feel so queer, as if they had seen many things of wonder and of fear.
Right, what do you understand by that stanza?
The eyes make you feel strange,
Right.
and he's seen things that make him wonder and things that make him fear.
Makes who wonder?
The fisherman.
So, but we're talking about whose eyes here?
The fisherman.
Right, so if you're talking about the fisherman's eyes, right, and the second line says, they make you feel so queer. So the person who is looking at him is who they are referring to here. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Right. As if they had seen many things of wonder and of fear. So because of that look in his eye, now you are thinking, now what has he seen? Why is his eyes, or why does his eyes look so curious, right? What did he see and what does he fear? Go on to the fourth stanza.
Can you go down, please?
Sure. Can we scroll on, guys? Okay, like it's right there.
They are like to see on foggy days, not gray, nor yet quite blue. They are like the wondrous tales he tells, not quite, yet maybe true.
And what do you understand by that stanza?
I understand the tales that he tells make the children feel, wonder if it's true or false.
Okay, great. And the last stanza there.
He knows so much of boats and tides, of winds and clouds and sky. But when I tell of city things, he sniffs and shuts one eye.
Right, so that those first two lines there, the first two lines in the last stanza, he knows of so much of boats and tides, of winds and clouds and skies. What is it? What are they saying about the fisherman?
It's saying that's how he knows so much about the sea.
Right, very good. Right, but when I tell of city things, he sniffs and shuts one eye. Why do you think?
I think he said because he do not know much about the city.
Excellent job. Thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome.
Right, and I just want to go back to the fourth stanza, right? Those first two lines, they're like the sea of foggy days, not gray, not yet quite blue. So they're saying here, they're still referring to the eyes, telling you that they are not quite sure. So when you look into them, you can't exactly tell exactly what the fisherman is thinking, right? Just as the last line says, not quite, yet maybe true. So let's go on to the first question. And before I take this call, I just want to remind you guys, when you read your poem, it is important that you analyze it just as we did, right? Line by line, stanza by stanza. Helps you to understand, of course. So good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
You can't exactly tell what the fisherman is saying.
Hi, good evening, caller.
Hello,
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Alex.
Hi, Alex. So read this question for us, and then I'll go to the poem if you need to.
Okay, miss.
Right? Line by line, stanza by stanza.
Alex, can I please ask you to lower the volume on the television set for a couple of seconds?
Okay, miss.
Thank you. Okay, you can go ahead. Are you there, Alex?
Yes, miss.
Okay, go ahead and
I
read the
just
question.
finished reading the question.
Please read it out loud for us.
The fisherman goes out at dawn when everyone's abed. Lines 1 and 2. What do these lines suggest about the fisherman?
Right, so take your time.
I think that this suggests that the fisherman gets up very early.
Right, why would he get up very early? Is he a lazy person?
No.
Right, what kind of person will you say he is then?
He is a...
Do you think it's easy to go out at sea early in the morning when everybody's asleep?
He is a diligent person.
Yes, that will work as well. Thank you, Alex. Right.
Thank you, miss.
You're welcome. These lines suggest that the fisherman is a hard worker who is willing to rise earlier than everyone else in order to earn a living. Right? Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello,
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Mahadi.
Nice to have you with us. So would you like to read this question for us today?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
What is referred to as the daily bread? Suggest the reason that is called this.
All right, so I'm going to go to the poem.
Okay.
What do you think they mean by daily bread?
Mean like every day he goes to fish and catch fish.
Right, he goes to fish.
Fish.
Right, and the second part of the question suggests a reason that it is called this. Why do they call the fish that he catches every day daily bread?
Because he's referring it to a term as like he eats the fish,
He is referring to.
as he eats it.
Can you repeat that, please?
He referred to as he eats the fish.
Right, or that is his meal for the day, or how he earns his living, okay? Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for calling.
Okay.
Right,
Bye.
so-
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam. So when we usually refer to the term daily bread, we're talking about something that you eat, right? Or your living, or how you make your living. The fish are referred to as the daily bread since the fisherman earns a living each day and is able to eat by catching the fish, right? So this is what he has to eat. This is his meal. If he don't fish, therefore he will not have any food. Let's take another call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
You're speaking to Chris.
Hi, Chris. So would you like to read this question for us?
Yes, I will.
Okay, go ahead.
Why does the speaker think the fisherman's life is strange?
What are you thinking?
I think that is because the fisherman started work earlier than most people, and he is very
what? You can also refer to the last stanza. Maybe that might help a bit.
He doesn't want to learn about anything in the city.
Can you repeat that?
He does not want to learn about anything in the city.
Okay, all right. No problem. We'll take that answer. Thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome.
Right. The speaker thinks that the fisherman's life is strange since the fisherman spends half his life at sea and half on land. Right. This is unusual to the speaker who lives in the city. Right. So not necessarily that he doesn't want to learn about the city, but rather because he doesn't spend as much time in the city, right, he has a greater interest at sea. All right, let's take another call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Jaden.
Welcome, Jaden, sorry. Would you like to read this question for us?
Yes, miss.
Go ahead.
Identify two similes that are used in stanza 4.
Can you see the poem?
Yes, miss.
Okay.
The first one is, they're like the sea on foggy days.
Right.
And the next one is, they're like the wanderer's tales he tells.
Excellent job. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
Right. So the comparison of the fisherman's eye, and I was supposed to ask what is a simile, but clearly he knows what a simile is, and it's a comparison between two unlike things using as or like. The comparison of the fisherman's eyes to the sea on foggy days. Right. The comparison of the fisherman's eyes to the wanderer's tail. So both comparisons are to the fisherman's eyes. All right, let's move on. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Who am I speaking with?
Rehan.
Hi, welcome. So go ahead and read this question for us.
Write words from the poem that mean the same as the following. Inquisitive, marvelous.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
So
let's... Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
And words from the poem that mean the same as inquisitive is queer.
It's queer. All right. What does inquisitive mean?
Inquisitive means curious.
Right. So does queer mean curious? Or is the word curious actually in the poem?
Curious.
Right. And what about marvelous?
Marvelous means wonder. Wondrous.
Wondrous, right? Thank you so much for calling.
Welcome.
All right, so inquisitive, same as curious, and marvelous, of course, wondrous. Again, you have vocabulary skills here. And we saw there that it's easy to get mixed up. Yes, you know the meaning to the back of your mind, but please read those lines carefully. You will find probably the exact answer just as we did in the poem. Number 34. We have a call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Number 34. We have a call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Good evening, caller.
Hi, afternoon.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Dominique.
Hi, Dominique. Would you like to read this question for us?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Write the lines in the poem that show that the fisherman is knowledgeable.
Right, so we're looking for that line that shows that the fisherman is knowledgeable. So take your time, read it through.
The line that shows this is, he knows so much of boats and tides.
Right, is that the only line?
No.
Go ahead.
They're like the wondrous tales he tells.
Well, actually, I was more aiming at the second line in the last stanza. He knows of so much of boats and tides, of winds and clouds and sky. Right?
Okay.
Thank you, Dominique.
Yes, thank you.
Right? He knows so much of boats and tides, of winds and clouds and sky. Show that the fisherman is knowledgeable. Right? Here, this line, they're like the wondrous tales he tells. That is the comparison to the fisherman's eyes. Okay, so these lines, first two lines in last stanza, actually tells that or shows that the fisherman is knowledgeable about different things, of course, at sea. All right, let's take another call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Hi, welcome. Welcome back. So go ahead and read this question for us.
How do the fisherman's eye make the speaker feel? Using details from the poem suggests a reason for this.
Okay. Which stanza do I have to look at to find my answer here?
The third stanza.
Which one?
Third stanza.
The first one?
The third.
Third, that's correct, right? And how does the fisherman's eyes make the speaker feel?
He makes him feel so queer.
Queer?
As if they had seen many things of wonder and of fear.
Great job. Let me just ensure that's right. And so using details from the poem suggests a reason for this. Is that the details you have chosen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much for your call. And of course, you are correct, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Right? The fisherman's eyes make the speaker feel queer. This may be because the fisherman has experienced many strange things and mysterious things that the speaker has never experienced. Right? So another word here for queer, you could have had strange. So either of those will be fine if you choose to use a synonym or use the exact word that was given there. And when they say using details from the poem suggests a reason for this, we will agree with Jaden's Jaden's response there, where he used the details given in that stanza. All right, let's move on to number 36. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller. Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Good afternoon.
Hi, good evening. Welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Hello? Hello?
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, miss.
Okay, who am I speaking with?
Andian.
Hi, Andian. Welcome back. So go ahead and read this question for us.
Why do you think the fisherman sniffed and shut one eye? Line 20. Can you zoom up on the question a little bit, please?
Sure.
When the speaker tells, let me read over.
Yeah.
Why do you think the fisherman sniffed and shut one eye? Line 20. When the speaker tells him about city things.
Right. So why do you think that is?
I think he sniffed and shut one eye because he does not know much about city things.
Great job, Andian. Thank you for calling.
You're most welcome, miss.
Right, and of course, again, this answer can vary a bit. The fisherman sniffs and shuts one eye because it's probably difficult for him to imagine life in the city since he spends half of his life at sea. Right, and of course, as well, he does not know much about the city because he spends a lot of time at sea, and he's also very knowledgeable about the sea. Right, number 37, we have a call on the line. Good evening, welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Good afternoon.
Good evening, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Chris again.
Okay, Chris, go ahead and read the question for us.
According to the speaker,
Can we just
what
zoom in there,
are two
guys?
main ways the fisherman is different from most people?
Right, so what are two main ways that the fisherman is different from most people?
He is different from many people because he wakes up early in the morning to start his work, and he is half on the shore and half upon the sea.
Very good. Thank you so much, Chris.
You're welcome.
Right, so the fisherman wakes up at dawn when most people are asleep. Also, he spends half his life at sea and half on land, unlike most people who mostly spend their lives on land. And the final question for this poem, good evening, welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Hello.
Hi,
Assalamu
welcome.
alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Who am I speaking with?
Mahadi again.
Okay, welcome back. Go ahead and read the question.
How do you feel about the fisherman in the poem? Write a reason for your answer.
And how do you feel about the fisherman?
I feel that he's a very disciplined person, or a well-unique person, because that's how he gets up early in the morning when everybody is sleeping and he goes fishing.
Excellent job. Right, so that is correct, of course. Thank you for your answer.
You're welcome.
Right,
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. And of course, guys, this answer can vary once more. I feel a sense of curiosity about the fisherman because I would like to know the things that he has seen that are of wonder and fear. Right, your answer can vary here. So we're just going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to continue with our paper. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome back to See Results. I'm Ms. Nyla and you are rejoining me for English Language Arts. Right, so we just completed another practice test paper and we are going to begin another. Right, so of course we know that the first task in section 1 is spelling. So we are going to read this passage and then we are going to open the lines to take some calls. Right, so we're just going to zoom in here a bit. The children enjoyed an amazing experience during the excursion to the world-famous tourist destination located on the southwestern peninsula of the scenic island. Additionally, they learned about the historical development and economic benefits of the famous Pitch Lake. It was thrilling to observe this natural wonder. Right? You know that this task is worth 12 marks, one for identifying or underlining the error and one for giving the correct spelling. Don't forget that we have a couple videos on spelling. So especially if you're bad at spelling or weaker at spelling and you want to overcome that, which you should, of course, look at those videos and they're going to help you to understand and improve, some of the areas of spelling in which you have problems or difficulties with, right? It will help you to pinpoint what exactly are your problems. So let's go to the spelling task. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller. Are you there? All right, so a lot of feedback there.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Is it Jaden?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Jaden, go ahead with number 1.
Can you zoom in a little? The children enjoyed an amazing experience. The incorrectly spelled word is experience.
Right, and how should experience be spelled?
EXPERIENCE.
Thank you so much for your call again. All right, let's take another. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Who am I speaking with?
This is Joseph Zibrat.
Nice to have you with us. So go ahead and read line 2 for us and identify the error and give me the correct spelling.
The estimation was the famous tourist destination.
So the excursion, right, to the world famous tourist destination. What is my error there? Or what is the error?
Excursion.
Okay. What is wrong with excursion?
Excursion. It's supposed to be a T-I-O-N instead of S-I-O-N.
Are you sure?
No, wait.
Take your time. Look at it carefully.
It's supposed to be a S, sorry. S-C, it's supposed to be a S instead of a C.
So spell it for me.
E-X-S-U-R-S-T-I-O-N. S-I-O-N, sorry.
All right. Tell me, what does the word excursion mean? What do you understand by that word?
It means like a trip.
Right, like a field trip. Right, so I'm going to tell you that the word excursion here is spelled correctly, and there is in fact another word that we are looking at as the error. Try again.
Destination.
Destination. Tell me why.
Because
read out each letter that you are seeing there for the word destination for me.
D-S-T-I-O-N. It's supposed to be a O, sorry, and T-I-O-N.
All right, so spell the entire word for me.
D-E-S-T-I-N-A-T-I-O-N. Destination.
Okay. Great job. Thank you so much for calling. Right, so destination is in fact the correct answer there, and we will go back to that shortly. Let's take another call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Welcome. Who am I speaking with?
This is Jonathan Sinanan.
Hi, Jonathan. Help us with line 3.
Okay, miss, can you zoom in, please?
Sure.
Okay, miss, so the error is peninsula.
Right.
And it's supposed to be spelled P-N-I-N-S-U-L-E.
L-E. Excellent job, Jonathan. Thank you for calling.
Welcome, miss.
Okay. And I'm just going to fix this a bit, make it a bit neater. Right, and let's go to line 4. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Let's try another. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking to?
Juliana.
Hi, Juliana. Can you help us with line 4?
Yes, can you zoom in, please?
Yes. Can we just zoom in on line 4, please? Thank you.
So the spelling error is scientific.
Is?
Scientific.
Yes, what should it be?
Scientific.
So you did identify the correct error, but however, what word do you think we are looking at here? And it's not scientific.
Scenic.
Scenic, excellent. All right, how should scenic be spelled?
S-C-E-N-I-C.
Excellent, Juliana. Thank you for your call. All right, so this one was a bit tricky. Let's go to line 5. Good evening. Welcome to C Results.
S-C-E-N-I. Excellent, Juliana. Thank you for your call.
Hi, good evening, caller.
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Alex?
Hi, Alex. Can you help us with line 5?
Yes, miss.
Okay, go ahead.
I think I've seen my error.
Which is?
Famous.
Famous. What is wrong with famous?
What did I say? Could you repeat?
How do you spell famous? What is the correct spelling?
F-A-M-O-U-S.
Great job, Alex. Thank you for your call. All right, let's take a final call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to C Results.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
This is Jonathan Sonanan again.
Jonathan, help us with line 6.
Okay, miss, can you zoom in?
Yep. Can you see it now?
Yes, miss.
Okay.
Miss, the error is trilling. It's supposed to have a H before the R and after the T.
So spell it for me.
T-H-R-I-L-L-I-N-G.
Thank you, Jonathan, once again.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, so let's just pause for a second and go through this passage with our spelling errors. And we saw in this passage that a couple of words can be quite tricky, right? So experience should actually be E-X-P-R-I-E-N-C-E, right? So this is one of those words you just need to know how to spell them and use an E rather than an A. Destination. Now, at first glance, destination looks correct, right? But you have to pay attention to each letter, and you will easily see that they have an A rather than an O. Our caller thought that excursion was the problem there, so E-X-C-U-R-T-I-O-N. Make sure with your suffixes, you know how to use them and the spellings associated with them, right? So I understand that T-I-O-N and S-I-O-N can give that similar sound, right? Ensure that you know its spelling. Thirdly, peninsula, right? When you say the word peninsula, it sounds as though that it might have an R. In fact, it does not have an R, right? So it's simply L-A and not L-A-R. And the fourth line, so because of the spelling of this word here, how it's given, right? I understand the confusion where someone thought it was scientific. You know, you might think it's scenic, but then you can be confused with the E and the I because you're applying the I before E rule and so on, right? That rule does not apply here, however, but you can be confused with that, right? But if you read in context, located on the southwestern peninsula of the scenic island, right? So once you read it properly, you will be able to identify the word or the error and give its correct spelling. Famous. So it comes from the root word fame, and when we add in that suffix O-U-S, we drop the E, right? So it's simply F-A-M-O-U-S. And finally, trilling, right? If you say it like just as it's spelled here, trilling, you will spell it T-R. But if you pronounce it properly, trilling, with T-H, you will know, or even at first glance, you will simply know that it's missing that H there, right? So that's the end of a spelling, and I do hope that everyone was able to get 12 marks here, right? Even if you, you know, probably didn't get it right on the first chance, but when you looked at it again, right, you were able to detect the correct answer and give the correct spelling. So now we are at punctuation, which is worth 6 marks, right? 1 mark per line. remember that your punctuation mark or your missing capital letter is inserted within the paragraph itself and not to the side on the boxes here as with our spelling and grammar task. All right, so let's read. Anil and his brother David were going on a camping trip in the mossy forest. You set up the tent, said Anil, and I will gather the firewood. Later, after they had fallen asleep, they heard strange footsteps. What was that? Whispered David. All right, let's take a call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello.
Hi, good evening. Welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Mahadi again.
Okay, welcome back. So help us with number 7.
A capital D for David.
Excellent. Thank you for your call once more.
Okay, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Right, let's go on to number 8. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Good evening, caller.
Yes, good evening.
Hi, who am I speaking with?
It's Chris again.
Okay, Chris, number 8.
Number 8. Capital T.
Capital.
Before Morsi.
All right, so if I put a capital T here, what does that mean for after the word in?
Full stop.
So, don't go as yet. So then the sentence will be, Anil and his brother David were going on a camping trip in. So it ends like that, and then the mossy forest. Is that correct?
No, a comma instead.
Can you repeat that?
A comma instead.
A comma instead? All right, let's try. All right, just give me a second. So if I have a comma instead, Anil and his brother David were going on a camping trip in, comma, the mossy forest. I want you to read the third line and see if that will help you.
Yeah.
What does the third line begin with?
It begins with quotation marks.
And then what?
A capital letter.
Right, so what does that mean for the previous line?
There's a full stop.
Where?
After forest.
Right, do you see it now?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. Thank you for your call.
You're welcome.
All right, so let's go on to number 9 and then we'll recap after. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Good evening.
Good evening. Who am I speaking with?
Chevelle Brown.
What? Nice to have you with us, Chevelle. So go ahead with number 9.
Is supposed to have a capital A for and.
All right. So let's read the sentence for me then until the sentence ends. From where it begins to where it ends.
You set up the tent, said Alan, and
right, go on to the next line.
I will gather the firewood.
Right. So do you think that it should have a capital A here then? Look at it closely.
No.
Why not?
Well, yes, because it's starting the sentence.
Starting the sentence. But notice after the name Anil, what does it have?
A comma.
So does that mean it's the end of the previous sentence?
No.
No. So therefore we are not using a capital A here. But I do understand why you thought that. Read it
so
again.
It will. Wait, sadness?
I said go ahead and read it again and see if that helps.
Would it be a comma?
Where?
After and.
Not quite. It's not. It is a comma. We are looking at a comma, but where am I going to place that comma? So it's not after and. Read the first part of the line again.
You set up the sentence.
Right, do you think anything is missing there?
Is the comma supposed to be after tense?
After?
Tense.
Not quite. I'm giving you another chance.
Sorry,
No.
you.
After? After where? I think you just said it. Can you repeat that for me?
You?
You, that's correct. Right, so we are using a comma, except that it's after the word you. Thanks so much for calling and staying on the line with us. Right, and I will explain that so you will understand a bit better, and those of you who are confused, okay? Let's move on to number 10. Good evening, welcome to See Results.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening, caller, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
This is Jonathan Sananan again.
Okay, Jonathan, number 10.
Okay, miss. Number 10.
Yes.
It's supposed to have close inverted after firewood.
So before the full stop or after the full stop?
After the full stop.
Great job. Thank you so much for calling, Jonathan.
You're welcome, miss.
Right, and now that we put our close quotation marks here, I hope that you are beginning to see, right, where the error was, where you said capital A for and. Right, but I will explain a little bit again. All right, good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Afternoon, miss.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Samia.
Okay, Samia, help us with number 11.
It's supposed to have a comma, an apostrophe in between the Y and C, so the word changes to did.
Right, and what is that short for?
They had.
Excellent. Thank you for calling.
No problem.
Okay, I'll probably just make that a little better. Right, and our final line there. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Juliana.
Hi, Juliana. So help us with number 12.
Sure, it's a question mark.
Okay, where am I putting that question mark? Are you there, Juliana? Okay, we lost Juliana, but she is correct. But let's see if someone else can help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and insert that question mark. Right, and let's recap. Anil and his brother David were going. Right, we know that David is a name. It's a proper noun also. And proper nouns begin with a capital letter. On a camping trip in the mossy forest, right? So here we had an error occurring where the caller thought that there was a full stop after in or even a comma, right? So ensure that you read each line carefully. Not only do you read each line, but try to read it as a sentence, right? So even if you're confused and you're not sure what the answer or missing punctuation mark is for that second line, go on to the third line. Right, look at your clues, and that will help you figure it out. Just as this third line here begins with open quotation and a capital letter, right? So that was the giveaway, that was your hint, which tells you that this here is the end of a sentence. And can we just scroll up a second, guys? Right, so it tells us that mossy forest brings us to the end of a sentence. So therefore, we needed a full stop after the word forest. Yeah, so that's a complete sentence there. Moving on, you set up the tense, right? So you have to insert a comma after the word you, right? So you set up the tense, said Anil. Now, notice, yes, we have open quotation marks and close quotation marks here. So we thought that the speech ended. But then it said Anil, and here's your hint, that comma there, right? Not a full stop, but a comma. So the dialogue is continuing. We know that dialogue can be like this. Where you have your speech, you have your dialogue tag and your speaker, and then continue with more speech, right? So here they are continuing with this sentence, they aren't finished. So hence the reason we don't have a full stop here. So they say open quotation marks again, beginning dialogue, but same sentence, and I will gather the firewood, which brings us to the end of the sentence. So therefore we have a full stop, but what is missing? Close quotation marks to end off that speech. and your dialogue goes, not your dialogue, sorry, but your quotation marks goes after your full stop. Similarly, if we had a question mark here or exclamation mark, your close quotation marks will still go after your punctuation mark. Later, after they, right, which is short for they had, we need an apostrophe S here. This is a construction of the words they and had. Falling asleep, they heard strange footsteps. What was that? Whispered David, right? So you would notice the difference here with this speech. What was that? Your question mark is missing, and whispered David, full stop, right? As opposed to the comma that we had here to continue that sentence or speech. Okay, guys, so we are at the end of our punctuation exercise, but now we are out of time for ELA. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we are going to get started with creative writing, right? So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome back to C Results. I'm Miss Nyla, and now you're now joining me for creative writing. We just completed English language arts, and now we're going to move on to some expository or report style writing. So last week we were able to recap, all the details and guidelines necessary when you're writing a report. And just before that, we looked at recapping narrative style writing, because currently on our Edmodo class, each week or every other week, we are rotating between a narrative piece and an expository piece. So with this week's assignment, you're actually given a narrative, and last week you were given an expository, right? So what I'm going to do, we are going to look at expository pieces and some of the common errors that students make. Now, we did already look at the guidelines, and the guidelines, I cannot stress how important that is, because I have seen when I corrected those expository pieces that some students are still not adhering to them. I don't know if, it's just maybe a little difficult for some students. I do understand that. Some of you may not have, sufficient practice with report writing, maybe at school, or maybe you did not get a chance to complete it, or revision, or whatever the case is, we are here to help. Right, so please, those videos are there on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. They are very, very useful in terms of writing a report, knowing what to use, what to stay away from, what is expected of you, how to understand the topic, and all of those things, right? Don't take it for granted that I know how to write a report, so I'm not going to look at the guidelines, I'm not going to use a rubric to help me, I'm just going to write. Please, all those things are there for you. You are at home, right? So it's very convenient to just flip a page or go back. So the task, so this was not exactly the task given for the assignment, but I'm going to use this task as an example. Students are going to call, identify some errors, as we have previously done when we were looking at report writing and improving them, right? And then later on, if we have some time, I'm going to read a couple pieces from last week's assignment, and then Sir Ijaz will join us to read some of the narrative pieces from last week. Or week before rather, because last Thursday, as you know, it was a holiday and we weren't able to share some of the students' pieces with you. And we know that students look forward to that, right? So let's go ahead with this task. Write a report about an incident that took place in the school's cafeteria at the beginning of the lunch period, right? So keep in mind your rubric. So what is content asking you for, language use, your organization, your grammar mechanics. So let's go to content, and I'm just going to refresh your memory here. I'm looking for, how you lay out, what's happening from beginning to end throughout your report. You must give place or location, time, and names, right? Full names of people involved in the incident. Right, with language use, we are looking at formal style writing. We know report is a formal style. So you must maintain that tone throughout your writing. Pay close attention to how you organize or sequence the ideas in your writing. Use appropriate transitional words and phrases. And of course, right, apply rules of punctuation, grammar, mechanics, all of that in your writing. Right, so let's go to this piece. On Thursday, 12 May 2015, at approximately 11:30 a.m., an incident occurred in the San Fernando RC School involving Zoe and Isabel of Standard 4 Williams. Right, so what we are going to do when you call, you have to read it line by line for me and help me, fill in the blanks. So if punctuation is incorrect or missing, or if I'm missing capital letters, whatever the case is, you have to identify it, and let's improve on this piece. So the lines are open. Feel free to call me and help me. Right now, this is a way that students will be able to identify some of their own errors, right? And it will help them remember, of course, when they are writing their own reports. Well, I remember this from this exercise where they were missing probably a question mark or a comma or a missing punctuation mark, or even a capital letter is what I wanted to say actually, a capital letter, right? Or incorrect grammatical structure, or not the correct use of tense. Remember, with your writing, you have to stick to one tense. And what tense is that? Past tense, right? A report is based on something that has already happened. So let's go to the phone lines and take this call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
The turn off the Stanley line.
Hi, good day. Welcome. Hello, caller.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, you are live on See Results. Who am I speaking with?
Michaela.
Hi, Michaela. So, Michaela, help us with the first line there. What is missing?
You're supposed to have the colon by involving, and the person's name is supposed to have the first and last name.
All right. Okay. So let me just go back 1 second. Let's take it with the first line, right? Is anything missing in the first line? You can read it out loud for us and help us to see.
On Thursday, 12th of May, 2015, at approximately 11:30 a.m., an incident occurred in the San Fernando RC School involving Zoe and Isabel of Standard 4 Williams.
Right. So, are there any errors in line 1 or the first line of this paragraph?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Go ahead.
It's supposed to have a comma after May.
Okay. Anything else?
No, it doesn't have.
Okay, so on Thursday, 12 May 2015 at approximately, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so should I have a TH after 12? Or 12 to make it 12th?
What?
So should I have TH to make it 12th, or is 12 just fine?
Yeah, you're supposed to have a TH after 12, yeah.
Right, okay, good. So moving on to the second line. So read the second line for me, and well, you already read it, so if you want to just point out any missing punctuation marks, for example, or capital letters there.
You're supposed to have dots between A and M.
Very good. A dot M dot. Right, so it's easy for us to ignore these when we are reading. Move on to the third line.
Third line. It's supposed to have a colon by involving.
All right, we'll take that. Anything else?
You're supposed to have the first and last names for Zoe and Isabel.
So I'm missing the last name here, and I'm missing the last name of?
Isabel.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for calling. Right, so let's go to the corrections and let's analyze. Right, on Thursday, 12th May, 2015 at approximately 11:30 a.m. Right, notice that you should have periods between A and M. An incident occurred in the San Fernando RC school involving, right, this colon here, that is correct, but you can also leave out the colon and it will still be correct, right, so either is fine. Zoe, so we have the persons involved in the incident or involved in the incident, but we should also have, and very importantly guys, when you are introducing someone for the first time in your report, you must give the first name and the last name. We have the first name of both the persons involved, but not the last name. So you should give those persons last names, right? So these are what our corrections look like. And now read. On Thursday, 12th May, 2015 at approximately 11:30 a.m., an incident occurred in the San Fernando RC school cafeteria involving Joey Fraser and Isabel Roberts. Of course, last names can vary, right? I randomly chose those. Of standard 4, Williams, full stop, right? So your first paragraph is now improved, right? It's better than what it was before. So when you have written your first paragraph, your introductory paragraph, ensure that you have all of those things covered, right? If you don't have the person's name or time or date, location in your first paragraph, ensure that you have it very early in your second paragraph, right? Let's move on here. And let's take a call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Let's move on here. Let's take a call. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, caller.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, welcome. Is this Nicholas?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Nicholas. So here's what we're going to do. I want you to read the entire paragraph, and then we'll go line by line, okay?
All right.
Okay.
So Zoe and Isabel was seen scurrying to the cafeteria line when Isabella stretched out her foot in order to trip Zoe. Zoe tripped, fell, and hurt her knee on the concrete. Zoe sustained a bruise to her right knee and was assisted by the cafeteria attendant, Mr. Marcus David, who took her to the principal's office. Mr. John Harry Brooks, the principal, spoke to the both girls. Soon after, he instructed Isabel to apologize to Zoe and asked that she take her to Nurse Sally.
Okay, Nicholas, great. So let's go with the first line.
First line, Zoe and Isabel were seen scurrying to the cafeteria line, right? In my opinion, nothing is wrong with the first line.
All right, so I'll remove that underline. Are you sure? Nothing? Look at it again, second time.
Zoe and Isabella was seen scurrying to the cafeteria. Scurrying?
Right. So what is wrong with scurrying?
They have it in wrong context. It's like they're supposed to put it like running.
Well, it's just a synonym, but something is wrong with scurrying, and that is actually spelling. Right? How do you think scurrying should be spelled?
S-C-U-R-I-N-G.
No, try again. Spell scurry. Spell scurry for me.
S-C-U-R-Y.
2 R's, okay?
Okay.
Wait, and we also have another error in the first line. Read it again.
Cafeteria.
What is wrong with cafeteria?
It's supposed to have one E.
So spell cafeteria then for me.
C-A-F-T-E-R-I-A.
No, that's incorrect. Cafeteria is actually spelled correctly here. So I'm going to point it out for you.
Was supposed to be will.
Very good. Why is that?
Because 2 subjects, my and must be followed by a plural verb.
Excellent, Nicholas. Move on to the second line.
Just now, hold on.
Take your time. If you don't see an error, you can move on to the third. That's fine.
Alright, I'm moving on to the third line.
Okay.
I'm moving on to the third line. Okay. A comma after trip.
Yeah.
On the concrete. And the fourth line, I'm reading the fourth line.
Don't go on to the fourth line yet. There's another error in the third line. Read exactly what you are seeing there. Zoe tripped.
Zoe tripped, fell, and hurt her knee on the concrete. Tripped.
Okay, well, I actually underlined it for you already. I thought you was going to say fall.
Oh, it's supposed to be fell.
Right. That's correct, Nicholas. And help me with the fourth line now.
Zoe sustained a bruise to her right knee and was assisted by the cafeteria attendant. Are you reading the fourth line?
Yeah, go ahead. You can move on if you don't see an error.
Alright, capital M for Marcus, capital D for David.
So, capital N for Marcus, capital...
And capital D for David.
Okay.
And apostrophe S for principals.
Hold on, Nicholas. We're still on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. The fifth line.
It's supposed to be a capital M for Mr.
Anything else?
No, nothing else.
All right, okay. All right, Nicholas, thank you so much for calling. I'm going to allow someone else to help me with the last couple lines, okay? Are you there, Nicholas? Okay, I think Nicholas left, but I will take another call to help us with that line moving down. All right, good evening. Welcome to C Results.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
This is Samia.
Nice to have you with us again. So help me with this same line. The fifth line there. Are there any other errors?
The fifth line?
Yes. The same line by the cafeteria attendant, Mr. Marcus David, who took her.
It's supposed to have a comma after attendant and a comma after David.
Excellent. What's the reason for that? Do you know?
No, Miss, I can't remember.
All right, no problem. They're called nouns in apposition, but that is correct. Let's move on to the next line.
It's supposed to have an apostrophe after between the L and the S.
Right.
Then it's supposed to have a full stop after Mr.
Yep. Anything else missing in the same line here?
A comma after Brooke.
Can you repeat that?
A comma after Brooke.
After Brooke. So, who took her to the principal's office? Mr. John Henry Brooks, comma, the principal.
Comma after the principal as well.
Okay. Go ahead.
After the word after, there's a comma.
Right.
That's it for that line, no?
Yeah. So let's move on to the second to last line.
Okay.
If there isn't an error, you can move on.
It's supposed to have a full stop after nursery. I don't think it has any error in the chapter to last line.
Okay. After Nurse Sally, full stop?
Yes, sir.
All right, no problem. Thank you so much for calling.
No problem.
Okay, guys, so there's a couple more things missing here, but let's just go to the corrections, right? And we will see them. All right, so Zoe and Isabella were seen scurrying to the, right? So were instead of was, when we have two subjects joined by and, if plural verb is followed, right? So Zoe and Isabella were scurrying. This is the correct spelling of the word scurrying. It is left with the Y. To the cafeteria line when Isabella stretched out her foot in order to trip Zoe. Zoe tripped, comma, fell. Now, fell is past tense of the word fall. We have to keep with the correct tense, which is past tense, right? So tripped is in past tense, therefore fell will also be in past tense. And hit is also past tense, right? Past tense of hit is hit. Zoe tripped, fell, and hit her knee on the concrete. Zoe sustained a bruise to her right knee and was assisted by the cafeteria attendant, comma, right? So this is capital M for Mr., comma, Mr., or capital M for Mr., full stop after that, Marcus David, comma. Now we need a comma after attendant and a comma after David for nouns in apposition, right? So this is the first noun, and then you have your second, nouns in apposition or nouns next to each other. Who took her to the principal's office? Whose office? Shows ownership, hence the reason for apostrophe S. Mr., full stop, or period after Mr. John Henry Brooks, comma, the principal, comma. Again, we have nouns in apposition, right? So Mr. John Henry Brooks and then principal spoke to both girls. Soon after, comma, transition word or transitional phrase, he instructed Isabella to apologize to Zoe and asked that she take her to Nurse Sally Anders. I simply added a last name to Nurse Sally simply because when you're introducing someone for the first time, we give the first name and the last name. And of course, a full stop is needed to end that sentence. Right? So I hope you were able to identify all the errors in the second paragraph. Let's move on to the conclusion. So yes, this is a short report, but just for the purpose of the exercise is the reason we chose this particular piece. In conclusion, after receiving a bandage, Zoe and Isabella returned to class and informed their teacher, Mrs. Candice Williams, about the incidents. Earlier before the dismissal, that day, the principal made a clear rule that there was to be no running in the cafeteria. All right, let's take a call to help us identify some errors. Good evening, welcome to See Results.
Hi, I'm Aaron.
Hi, welcome. So, go ahead with the first line.
The first one is a comma in the conclusion.
So, a comma after. Can you repeat that for me, please?
Conclusion. Conclusion.
So, comma after conclusion, right? Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. It receives for a wrong day. Receiving.
All right. Why is it spelled wrong? What is wrong with it?
Because when it have a C in it, it have EI.
Right. So the rule is I before E.
Yes.
Except after
C.
Right. Good. Go ahead.
Zoe and Isabel return to class.
So, with the first line, is that all the errors there? Anything else missing?
After is a
After. Can you repeat that, please? I'm not hearing you too well.
the receiving, right? Receiving.
Right. So we know that receiving is spelled incorrectly.
Yeah.
Right. And moving on. Any other errors in that first line?
A is the error.
What is wrong with A?
Is the
Actually, the article A is fine. Nothing is wrong with that, okay? But go ahead. Go on to the second and third line then, if you're not seeing an error.
Zoe and Isabel return to class. Okay, I'm not seeing not any.
Okay, go ahead then to the third line.
A comma.
Where?
No, it's a comma.
Where am I putting a
Teacher.
comma? So I'm putting a comma after teacher?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. had to go in capital.
Well, it's not Mr. but Mrs., right?
Mr. had to go in capital letter.
Okay.
Candace is a name of a person.
So what does that mean?
That means it's a proper noun.
Right, so therefore a capital letter. And what about Williams?
Williams has to go in a capital letter.
Right, so W, capital W. Anything else there? So you were right about this comma here, but where does the next comma, where will the next comma be placed for nouns in opposition?
A comma after Williams.
Right. Go on.
About the incident earlier, a full stop because it's a capital letter.
Okay, good.
A comma before, after earlier.
All right.
The prince.
Can you repeat that?
No, okay. Comma after they.
All right. Take your time. Go ahead.
The principal is a comma after principal.
All right. Why am I putting a comma here? So earlier comma.
Because it's a noun put in there.
It is a noun, but earlier comma before dismissal that day, comma, the principal, comma, made a clear rule. All right, go ahead with the last line, and then we'll get to that.
Was to be, is our full stop go after cafeteria?
Full stop after the word cafeteria. Anything else? Is that it?
Take out, I didn't, yeah, that is it.
All right, no problem. What's your name again?
Aaron.
Okay, Aaron, thank you so much for calling and all your hard work. Right, so let's go ahead and analyze this piece, guys. We're just going to remove this comma here, but let's look. In conclusion, comma, right, so you have your transitional phrase after receiving, correct spelling of the word receiving, And this spelling rule is I before E except after C, right? So the C is there, so therefore it is followed by E, I. A bandage, comma, right? So in conclusion, comma, after receiving a bandage, comma, right? So Aaron did not mention that one, but that's fine. Zoe and Isabella returned to class and informed their teacher, comma, capital M for Mrs., Candice, capital C, capital W, proper noun, comma, about the incident, full stop. And we know it's a full stop, or it brings us to the end of the sentence because the word earlier begins with a capital letter. Right, so again, transitional word, comma, before dismissal that day, comma, the principal made a clear rule, so no comma after principal here is necessary. We already placed our commas in respected areas. The principal made a clear rule that there was to be no running in the cafeteria, full stop. Right, so a couple things to take away from this short exercise, which I have been seeing in some of your submissions, right? So let's go back to introductory paragraph. And these are some of things students are failing to put, okay? And even though it's been mentioned over and over, please adhere to the guidelines. It's really going to make a difference in your mark, right? So for instance, AM, right? Place your periods between A and M, or PM similarly, right? TH, something simple as a comma after your month. Right? Even if you're saying San Fernando RC School, your periods between R and C, and involving Zoe, so first name and last name, like I said, it's really important. So please, guys, some of you are still leaving it out. Reread before you submit, right? So ensure you have your last names as well, right? Spelling is another error, frequent error, as well as subject-verb agreement. Right? We learned about 17 different rules with subject-verb agreements. Please revise them. Also, we need to know when to use commas, so when to use your commas, when to use your full stops, your exclamation marks, your question marks, and so on. More frequently and commonly in report writing, we will use commas, maybe a colon, and full stops. Right? You know that there's a period after title, capital letters for proper nouns also. Apostrophe marks is another punctuation mark that will be used in a report, right, or might be used. Also, very common and frequent, nouns in apposition, and we have seen it over and over and over. So we are seeing here Mr. John Henry Brooks, comma, the principal, right, or Miss Susan Briggs, comma, the hairdresser, comma, right. Whatever your nouns are, make sure you use your commas to separate them. Right? Similarly, after your transitions, use your commas. Also, an important note, ensure that you are using the right transitional words and phrases. Throughout this report, use of transitional words was excellent. We had no problems with transitional words. Right? So, be very mindful of that. Of course, full stops to end your sentences. Again, subject-verb agreement. Right? Spelling, as we saw earlier. Again, commas. Right, so those are some of the frequent errors throughout your reports. And of course, we have the problem where students are writing, the report as a narrative piece, right? So please try to avoid that as much as possible. And how can you avoid that? By doing these exercises with us, and of course, following the format, the correct format for report style writing. But don't worry, on Thursday, again, I am going to do some more exercises that will help you to improve in your reports, and I'm going to read some of your submissions, right? Please stay tuned with us. After the break, Sejaz will join us to read a couple of your submissions. We'll be right back, guys.
In order to maneuver through the COVID-19 pandemic, Trinidad and Tobago as a nation needs to work together in solidarity to support one another. The frontline workers and essential service workers are putting their lives at risk every day in order to ensure that those that are affected have the care that they need, that the virus is contained, and that we are able to access necessities during the quarantine period. As a business built on core family values for the past 95 years, we are honored to provide aid to our brave frontline medical staff who are going above and beyond in these uncertain times. We urge you to do your part as well in whatever way that you can in order to flatten the curve and support one another.
Good evening, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to C Results on IBN TV, as well as the IBN TV Facebook page and the C Results Facebook page. I am Sir Ijaz, and it's Tuesday, and we are a little bit past the halfway point in our creative writing session, so that means it's time for me to be reading some of your essays. Of course, as you know, on last week Thursday there was a holiday and we were off air, so we were only able to read a couple of your essays on Tuesday. You know, on Thursday we also read a couple more, time permitting. So I'm going to go back to that narrative essay, that narrative assignment that we did, because there were some things that I wanted to highlight. I'm going to probably read one that was pretty well done, as well as a couple that had some errors in it that I want you to avoid. All right, so Ms. Nyla just went through there a very nice session with you, pointing out errors in punctuation, grammar, capitalization, and so on within the creative writing. So my emphasis is really just, to give you, to air some of your work so that the nation would be aware, of the level that you are writing at, and to assist you probably with some elements of storytelling and so on. All right, so we don't always go through every single error in detail when there is an error, but of course the more glaring ones we will at times point it out. All right, so the instructions for this essay were to write an exciting story which includes the following sentence. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it differently. And remember, we read two of those last week, Tuesday. Remember to include details about what you did, why you did it, and how you felt about your actions. So the first one I'm going to read is one, again, that was done very well. And that will be followed by two more that weren't so great. And of course, we will never mention your names when we are reading those essays. But that should not discourage you from submitting, all right? Of course, you will get your individualized feedback on edmodo.com on our app. We just saw the access code go up there a few moments ago. So if you're not yet on board, please join us on edmodo.com and continue to submit those quizzes and writing assignments. So of course, for these essays, you are marked on content, language use, organization, and grammar and mechanics. And it's similar to the criteria used for expository, but of course, you're writing for a different purpose and in a different style, all right? So they would mean slightly different things here for narrative and expository. So the first story, that morning, the sun shone in all its brilliance, shooting laser beams of molten gold down on earth, all right? So laser beams there, we have a spelling error. It should be an S instead of a Z. Birds chirped merrily and popcorn clouds drifted across the blue sky as my friends and I played in the schoolyard. As I was running, I stumbled across a crisp new $100 bill. A broad smile crept on my face as I picked it up, although I knew that what I was doing was wrong. I smiled from ear to ear as I headed to the cafeteria. I didn't know why I was doing this, since I was usually a very honest child who my class teacher, Miss Amy, always used as a role model for the rest of the class. It was almost as if I was under a spell. I knew Miss Amy, of all people, would be especially disappointed, since she always taught us never to steal and to think before we act, and I was doing the total opposite. Ecstasy filled me as I picked up all the snacks and candies which I was usually unable to purchase, since I never had enough money. Excitement bubbled within me as I handed the vendor the bill and rushed outside to devour all the goodies that my little heart desired. Quickly, I wolfed down all the cakes and candies and started running around the school as happy and hyper as I can be. So you see in there the use of a word, or that phrase, wolf to wolf down. It means, to eat in a very greedy manner. So that's a nice way to word that, to phrase that. Suddenly, the announcement that I least expected to hear blared out on the school intercom. Miss Amy is missing $100. If anyone finds it, please return it to the principal's office immediately. All right, so this is a very nice way for our author to introduce some conflict or some problem here that the protagonist is going to have to resolve, or that they are going to face. All right, remember that she found this $100 bill in the schoolyard, and the thoughts that she had about her teacher being disappointed in her and so on because of the values that the teacher is trying to instill in them. And then it turns out that this $100 bill actually belongs to that teacher. So that creates some intrigue. All right, so I want you to pay careful attention to that. That is a nice plot twist, and that will keep the reader and the examiner, in this case, very much engaged with your story. The secretary's voice rang in my ears, right? So the announcement is made over the intercom by the secretary. At once, extreme guilt flooded me. Oh, how I wanted the earth to split in half and swallow me as I convinced myself to admit what I had done. Okay, so remember, in contrast to the expository writing, in the narrative style writing, we want descriptive language, we want language that deals with emotions and so on, and you are seeing that quite well done here in this narrative piece. Okay, so extreme guilt flooded me. Oh, how I wanted the earth to split in half and swallow me as I convinced myself to admit what I had done. All right, so very good use of language there. My legs felt like lead. Okay, again, simile being used there. Her legs won't actually be as heavy as lead, but her legs are heavy because she knows what she's about to walk and face. All right, and my heart pounded rapidly in my chest as I walked down the long corridor. What would they say? Would I be punished? Was some of the millions of questions that raced through my mind. All right, so again, seeing here the use of hyperbole. Of course, millions of questions did not actually rush through our mind, but you are getting the impression there that the state that the protagonist is in, they are feeling unease at the action that they committed, right? So I opened the door, my hand trembling with fear. As I opened the door, a wave of cold air rushed past me, sending chills down my spine. I was already so scared of being punished, but seeing Miss Amy with the most worried look on her, that should be on her face, made matters worse. As I entered the room, she looked at me with relief, but when I confessed, her face showed nothing but complete sadness and disappointment. Okay, so this is a nice callback here to the fact that the protagonist said that Miss Amy looks up to this student as, someone who is a role model in the class. So perhaps the teacher, saw this student entering the room, and that probably improved the teacher's mood until the confession was given, and that, of course, would come as a great shock to anybody who looks up to someone, right, or who has a lot of confidence in someone. I didn't know what to say and couldn't bear to look at her, but when I did, her face turned crimson. Okay, so that's a nice word there, crimson red. I'm sure a lot of you know it already, but if you don't, jot it down and include it in your vocabulary, please. An awkward, deafening silence filled the room until the bell rang, signaling the end of the lunch hour. I apologized and hastily headed back to class with my head hung low. So ashamed I was that I didn't even speak to my best friend on my way to my desk. Miss Amy entered the classroom. I braced myself for her to start shouting, but to my surprise, she remained quiet and continued the class as usual, not even looking in my direction. I felt more guilty than I ever thought was possible. At the end of the day, Miss Amy dismissed class as usual, reminding us to always be honest, never steal, and think before we act. Oh, how I wished I could have turned back the clock and fixed things. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it differently. I just wanted to disappear, and this was submitted by Amara Mohammed. All right, so this is very, very, very well done, Amara. Of course, you might have seen there a little comma or so out of place here and there. some minor spelling errors and so on, but this was very well done. You know, we are very proud of this piece of writing that you've been able to do for us. And I just want to remind you what the instructions said, right? You must include the following sentence. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it differently. Always, guys, remember to do so. When you are told to include a sentence in the story, yes, you may write to the point of the story, but if you forget to include it, you are missing, you know, an element there that is required. So you don't want to do that. All right, and remember to include details about what you did. Did she include details about what she did? Yes, very much so. Did she say why she did it? Yes, she gave a rationale for why, because she usually didn't have the amount of money to afford all of those snacks and candies and so on that she wanted to enjoy all the while. All right, and how you felt about your action. So she felt guilty, you know, and in the end she was caught and she had to face that guilt, and you know, she wasn't even forgiven per se in this story. All right, so it's a bit of a tragedy there, but it's very good writing, and it kept the reader engaged, and it's something that I want you all to, you know, model your writing after. I'm not saying to copy, of course, but you know, take inspiration from it and think about how we can write stories that are, you know, out of the box sometimes. It's good to have the little formulas and so on memorized, as I mentioned last week, but you know what's going to keep somebody very interested in your piece of writing is when you bring something that's very fresh. All right, and of course this particular creative writing assignment, it came from a past paper, so therefore, you know, something like this could very well come in your exam. Okay, so it's a very real example of what you can expect in your SEA exam, if of course narrative writing comes for this particular year, or for those who are going to go into Standard 5 after for next year. All right, remember, it will either be all expository or all narrative, so you have to be prepared for either option. Good. So let's look at another piece now that I was not, you know, quite pleased with, and we will see why. Okay, for multiple reasons, and these are some things that we should avoid. Okay, so one day while in school, our principal announced that there would be a science and technology competition. The game was, you have the components to build the item they tell you to, and the fastest time wins. Okay, so that could have been phrased much better. Okay, so the rules of the game were, or the game entailed having to build an item using components given in the fastest time possible, something like that. All right. I understand that the way that we speak, sometimes it comes out in our writing, but when we are writing, at least outside of dialogue, we should definitely 100% stick to standard English, okay? So it's something that we have to perfect, because a lot of times in our daily life, we are not speaking standard English, and that's fine, by the way. You know, this is the way that we are. We are Caribbean people. We have our own Creole language and so on here. However, when you are writing, you have to write within, you know, the confines of the standard English, except perhaps in dialogue you can use the dialect and slangs and so on, right? So bear that in mind, and it's something to be worked on, all right? So these two things go hand in hand, the English language arts and the creative writing. Both, they would inform each other, or they would strengthen each other. You know, in writing, you get to practice the language arts rules that you learn, and in language arts, you are learning the rules to use in your creative writing, as well as in your everyday speech and so on, because you will, of course, be in situations in life where it would be more appropriate to speak in standard English, so you have to try, you know, to master it, okay? So that was my main issue with this first paragraph. My friend Emmanuel and I, and what is wrong there? Okay, the name Emmanuel, of course, it's a proper name, so it should have a capital E, and I decided to join the competition, right? That sentence could have ended there. There were 3 rounds in the competition. Our first challenge was a smartphone. Okay, our first challenge was to build a smartphone. Perhaps would have been better. The model was A70. That should be an A70. And that, of course, I believe is a model of a Samsung phone, perhaps. So that A should probably also be capitalized, the A in the A70. We were the first people to finish we were the first people to finish was us. So it's either you're going to say we were the first people to finish, or the first people to finish was us, or were us, maybe was us. And the phone worked, and the phone worked, right? Notice that from this paragraph, and you'll see onward in the essay, our writer has stopped using full stops, all right? So it's even more than just it being a run-on sentence. Now, everything is just one sentence, okay? And we can't have that. Remember, we learned about the different sentence types. We learned how to make our sentences, more interesting. How to expand our sentences, how to extend our sentences, and so on. And all of those videos, guys, they are available on our YouTube channel, See Results, as well as on our Facebook page. You can click on videos, and under playlists, you're going to get the entirety of season 1. All right, and on YouTube, of course, we also have them in playlists, and in the YouTube videos, we have some video descriptions and titles that will be, to your benefit. It's better organized there for you to know specifically what you are looking for. All right, so, right, the phone worked. The second challenge was a laptop, which was hard. All right, so the challenge was difficult. The components they gave us, that should have been, they gave us was old. Well, here it should be were old, plural, right? And had to program. It took long for the data to upload, right? Right, so that could have been rephrased better. Good. We weren't, WEREN''T, okay, the only ones who found it hard. The other teams were struggling, but we managed to finish first and went on to the finals. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it differently. Okay, so this is another thing. All right, so in this particular essay, I still want to say to the writer, good attempt, good try, but you sort of missed the point here, and your grammar and your punctuations, capitalization, and so on was all over the place. All right, so in this particular essay, these guys, they entered a competition. Yes, the competition was a bit challenging at times, as they said, in terms of programming the computer and the components being difficult to put together and so on. But in the end, they won, all right? And they didn't really do anything that they could have done differently. Perhaps they could have done it better, but not necessarily differently, okay? They could have done it quicker or something like that. But the point here is to describe, some action that you did, how the action, what you felt in the action, and so on. Remember, there were 3 specific things that we had to deal with. What you did, why you did it, and how you felt about your action. So what they did was to enter a competition. Why they did it? Well, it kind of is implicit here that they wanted to win, and how they felt about their actions. So what they did, or why they did and how they did it, doesn't really match up here to how they feel about their actions. If they had to do it all over again, they would do it differently, but they won the competition in the end, all right? So that there did not make 100% sense. So I'm going to try to squeeze in one more essay here. And this is another one that was better written, but it suffered from the same problem that the previous one did. All right, so let's see what I mean by that. I took one look at my art picture that I drew and decided that my art teacher, Mr. Martinez, would love the castle that I drew. He gave each student a chance to draw something different. I chose a castle. When I arrived at school the next hot sunny day, I saw some beautiful pieces, but mine was the best. My picture, that should be shined with one end in the sun like 1,000 diamonds as the sun hit the glittered dust. Again, that should be glitter, right? Ding, ding, the bell rang. And remember, guys, we don't have to put onomatopoeia in quotation marks, which signal time to go in class. When Mr. Martinez collected our pictures, he smiled, showing off his snow white teeth. All right, so nice use here of physical description and so on. Again, stuff that Ms. Nyla has also covered in depth, and she will continue to go over it as they come up on a weekly basis. But we have dedicated videos on all of these things, right? Sentence structure, paragraph structure, all the different language devices, and so on. So please go and look at all of those on YouTube to help improve your writing. When he reached the last two pictures, his smile dissolved and turned into a frown. Okay, again, good writing here. His smile dissolved and turned into a frown. He showed my teacher, Mrs. Holder, the two pictures. Mr. Martinez stayed in class to give the rest of the class their results of how they did, while Miss took Clarissa, Philip, and me outside. She showed us both the pictures, and I gasped. That should have a full stop there now. Clarissa blurted out, okay, so we don't need to put a colon there before the quoted speech. Miss Destiny cheated. Miss asked me if I cheated, but I told her no. Miss, I saw her watching my paper when Sir told us to write down our ideas, Clarissa said. I acted as if I were a calm student who knew she passed her exam, but deep down inside I was angry and sad at the same time. Clarissa's picture looked identical to mine, but I knew I did not cheat. Miss, I can prove that I did not cheat. She nodded, and I showed her that I signed my name on the bottom of the picture and that Clarissa did not sign hers. Clarissa said that she had no idea what to do, so she looked in my paper and found that I had an awesome idea, so she decided to use it. Miss agreed with her that mine was pretty and that she thought I would definitely win. Clarissa apologized and said she would try drawing something for herself. In the end, I got first place and won a box of chocolates and stationery items. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it differently. And the stationery here should be spelled with an E. Okay, so again, what was the problem here? Now, this particular essay had way less grammatical errors than the previous one. Sentence structure and so on, dialogue, everything was, pretty much okay. And it was a good story. It was an engaging story. However, what did the protagonist do that they could have done differently? Well, nothing, because the person that actually copied was not the protagonist in this story. Right? It was someone else that copied from her. And in the end, that was resolved. So the person was found to have been the cheater and not actually, the protagonist in our story. So again, it doesn't quite fit. We know what she did. She did her drawing. Why she did it, it was an idea that popped into her head, but she was copied from. All right? So how did it make her feel? It should not make her feel that she had to do something differently. It's the person who copied should really be feeling that they ought to have done something differently, all right? So we need to understand the instructions, understand what the story is asking of us, plan it out properly, and, just try to make sure that we have everything, down pat before we put pen to paper. All right, but again, even the ones with errors, we thank you so much for your effort and for your support of the program and for continuing to submit. Please continue to do so. Join us on Edmodo if you haven't. We are out of time for today, but we'll continue with you on Thursday, God willing. A good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Do enjoy your evening.